You spend 3 hours researching the best project management system. You read 12 articles comparing frameworks. You watch video tutorials. You evaluate features. You build a comparison spreadsheet. Then you return to work and realize nothing has changed. The project is still late. The priorities are still unclear. The actual problem was never the system. This is not learning. This is cognitive avoidance disguised as productivity. Most professionals believe they need more information before they can execute. They treat research as preparation. But in most cases, research functions as the most sophisticated form of procrastination available to intelligent people. The cost is not measured in wasted time. It is measured in delayed decisions, abandoned momentum, and income that never materializes because execution never begins. Information feels like progress, but information without execution is intellectual entertainment. Information overload is not about volume, it is about substitution. The cognitive problem is this: consuming information creates the same neurological reward as making progress, but without requiring the risk, friction, or commitment of actual execution. Your brain registers learning as forward motion. It releases dopamine. It creates a sense of competence. You feel informed, prepared, capable, but nothing external has changed. This is not a lack of discipline. This is a structural thinking error common among high IQ professionals. Intelligent people are trained to gather data before acting. Research is rewarded in academic environments. Thoroughness is celebrated. Incomplete knowledge is punished. But in execution environments, the opposite is true. Incomplete action produces feedback. Feedback produces refinement. Refinement produces results. Perfect information is not only unnecessary, it is often a barrier to performance. The hidden cost is not the time spent researching, it is the compounding loss of momentum, decision speed, and income leverage. A consultant spends 2 weeks researching pricing strategies instead of testing one price with 3 clients. The research cost, 14 days. The opportunity cost, 3 months of delayed revenue and zero market feedback. This is the information trap. Why does the brain prefer research over execution? The answer lies in cognitive load and perceived risk. Research is a low-friction cognitive activity. It requires attention but not commitment. You can consume information passively, you can stop at any time. There is no failure state. Execution, by contrast, is high friction. It exposes your judgment, it produces observable outcomes. It creates the possibility of being wrong in a way that others can see. This is called cognitive avoidance through competence signaling. The brain rationalizes research as being thorough or doing it right, but the real function is delay. Research delays the moment of exposure. It delays feedback. It delays the risk of discovering that your thinking was incomplete. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis, but the mechanism is more specific. The brain is not paralyzed. It is actively avoiding the transition from theoretical competence to tested competence. Every additional piece of information creates the illusion that you are now closer to the quote, right answer. But in most professional decisions, there is no single right answer. There are only tested hypotheses and untested assumptions. Research extends the period where all your assumptions remain untested, and therefore unchallengeable. This is why intelligent people often take longer to act than necessary. They are not missing information, they are postponing judgment. The solution is not to stop researching, It is to invert the research execution sequence. This is the execution first framework. It operates on a simple principle. The fastest path to useful information is constrained action, not comprehensive research. Here is the structure. Step 1. Define the minimum viable decision. Most decisions do not require complete information. They require enough information to take the smallest reversible action. Ask, what is the smallest action I could take that would produce real feedback? Not, I need to research all email marketing platforms. Instead, I will send one campaign using the platform I can set up in under 30 minutes. The decision is not permanent. The action is not final, but the feedback is real. This eliminates 80% of unnecessary research. Step 2. Set a research time cap. Time boxing forces prioritization. If you have infinite time to research, you will research infinitely. If you have 20 minutes, you will extract only what matters. Set a hard limit, 15 minutes of research per decision. In 15 minutes, you can identify one credible source, extract one framework, note one critical constraint. This is sufficient for 90% of professional decisions. The remaining 10%, high stakes, irreversible decisions, require deeper research. But most decisions are not in this category. Step 3. Execute before you feel ready. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of action. The goal is not to act recklessly. The goal is to act at 70% certainty instead of waiting for 95% certainty. The difference between 70% and 95% certainty is rarely additional research. It is usually just additional delay. Ask, what would I do if I had to decide in the next 10 minutes? Then do that. Step 4. Treat execution as research. Every action produces data. Every result refines your model. If you launch a half-finished service and no one responds, you have learned something no amount of market research could have told you. If you propose a solution and your client asks 3 questions you had not considered, you now have the exact research agenda you actually need. Execution is not the end of research. It is the beginning of useful research. Pre-execution research optimizes for theoretical completeness. Post-execution research optimizes for practical gaps. The second type is faster, cheaper, and more accurate. Step 5. Practice selective ignorance. Not all information is equal. Most information is noise. Selective ignorance is the deliberate choice to remain uninformed about variables that do not change your next action. If you are deciding between 2 software tools and both meet your core requirements, the difference between them is functionally irrelevant. Researching that difference is entertainment. Ask, will this information change what I do next? If no, ignore it. If yes, note it and move on. This is not laziness. This is cognitive resource management. The execution first framework does not eliminate research. It subordinates research to execution. Research becomes a tool for refining action, not a substitute for it. This framework has direct financial consequences. Consider 2 founders launching a service business. Founder A spends 6 weeks researching competitive pricing models, service delivery frameworks, client acquisition strategies, brand positioning. At the end of 6 weeks, they have a comprehensive plan. They have read 25 case studies. They feel prepared. But they have 0 clients and 0 revenue. Founder B spends 2 days researching one service model and one pricing structure. On day 3, they contact 5 potential clients and offer a pilot engagement. 3 decline, 1 responds with questions, One says yes at 60% of the intended price. At the end of 6 weeks, founder B has delivered one paid project, learned which service features clients actually value, refined pricing based on real objections, generated $4,000 in revenue. The difference is not intelligence, it is execution speed. Founder A optimized for theoretical completeness. Founder B optimized for feedback velocity. By week 12, Founder A is still refining their market research. Founder B has delivered 4 projects, adjusted their pricing twice, and identified a repeatable client acquisition channel. The income gap is not linear, it compounds. This applies beyond entrepreneurship. A manager spending 3 weeks researching team restructuring models delays the restructuring by 3 weeks. If the current structure is costing $10,000 per week in inefficiency, the research itself cost $30,000, even if it was free in time. A consultant spending 8 hours researching client solutions instead of testing one hypothesis with the client delays billable progress by 1 full day. If their rate is $200 per hour, the research cost $1,600 in opportunity loss. Information overload is not a productivity problem, it is a financial leak. The professionals who earn the most are not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who act on incomplete information, refine through feedback, and compound execution speed into income leverage. The information trap operates on a false premise that knowledge precedes performance. But in execution environments, the opposite is true. Performance produces knowledge, action reveals assumptions, feedback refines models. Research is not preparation, it is postponement. The goal is not to eliminate research, the goal is to treat research as a subordinate function to execution, not a prerequisite for it. Execution first thinking does not require recklessness, it requires precision. Identify the smallest reversible action. Set a research time cap. Act at 70% certainty. Treat execution as research. Practice selective ignorance. This is not intuitive, but it is structural. The professionals who master this do not think faster, they act sooner. And in competitive environments, acting sooner compounds into income, leverage, and strategic position. Thinking quality determines execution speed. Execution speed determines financial outcomes. Once you see this pattern, you recognize it everywhere. Which part of your work do you spend the most time researching instead of testing? I ask because the comments on this channel are built around how professionals actually think. Not theory, but operational reality. Most of the best insights come from people doing real work. This channel studies how thinking shapes performance and decisions. You're welcome to subscribe if this is the kind of work you value. Next, we'll examine decision fatigue and why intelligent people make worse decisions the longer they think. Until next time, observe your mind, refine your decisions.